All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and give this game my thoughts as I played it. So, Keeper, kind of a unique game to say the least. Something I can honestly say I have never experienced in my life. But essentially playing as what you appear to be a lighthouse as you continue, as you go through on a journey with a bird friend. At the heart of the game, it is basically a adventure puzzle, maybe even a bit of a walking sim in there, with a few extra elements thrown in. So it's definitely a unique experience, just from what I played, obviously. Now let's go up and start off. I think this is going to be an interesting one because it's really going to be hard for me to really give my thoughts based on what I'm experiencing. So I think let's start with what I liked about the game. Okay, let's start with what I liked about the game. I think that's a fair way to put it. So what I liked about the game, I think the game has, like I said, one of the most unique experiences you'll ever do. It's super creative. You're not going to really see anything like this on the market today. It definitely adds this environmental beauty to itself with the art style and the visuals, and there's always something different. Like at some points I mentioned, you've got something almost like fairy tale-esque, and then it looks like you're jumping right into a painting. So I think that's really, really cool. And a lot of the environments are changing dynamically as you're progressing through. So one minute we're on this rocky face, and then we're in this pink land, and then the next thing you know, we're in this fireball location. Well, not fireball, but we're essentially like this little wheel, and we're just going through tracks and all these different levels. So it does take a simple design and it turns it into something unique. Like I said, each of the acts where you play is the lighthouse, and then you're the boat, and then the wheel, and then ultimately that stag or whatever you are at the end there. There's multiple different ways of traversing the world as you're progressing, and as you realize that this little power that is behind this this little character here. So obviously it's a silent protagonist. There's no talking whatsoever. So some of the game is made for, you know, your interpretation. But it, like I said, the journey itself, the visual experience, and of course, one thing I mentioned multiple times is the audio experience was absolutely phenomenal. I thought the music was really, really amazing. It seemed like it's like it was I said this also towards the end of the game, it was whimsical, but like action adventure, like crammed together. And it, like, you know, I kept referencing movies, and other people were referencing movies as well. Terminator and whimsiness mixed together. It's like epic, but it's also got like this lightness to it too. It's, you know, it's triumphant, it's epic, it's action packed, but it's light. And it's like, I don't want to say kid friendly, but you know what I mean? It's got that kind of that airiness to it, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's a hard one to explain, but it's definitely one of the coolest soundtracks I've heard in a while. So visually and auditorily, it is a really, really cool and interesting game, like I said. So that's pretty much what I enjoyed about it. Let's talk about some of the things I didn't particularly like. Obviously, I always got to say this, and this is always the one I mention first when things happen like this in the game. Performance issues right off the snuff. These are things that will, I know, get dialed in, but I'm getting really tired of playing a game that is already like glitching out from the start. You know, I shouldn't have to put it on you know, ultra performance and still suffer from, like, you know, performance bugs and like, you know, bad frame rate and pixelation, things like that. I shouldn't have to make the game look terrible just to get it playable. And like I said, right now you guys don't see it because I'm looking at my preview window and it looks fine on the preview window, so I don't really know what's going on. I've never had this happen before, but what I'm looking at in front of me is the same background image, but there's like a black strobe effect on my screen. It's going really fast, like that. It's that fast. So like if you stare at it, if you could have a seizure. You know what I mean? If the wrong person's looking at this, you're gonna have a seizure. So I don't really know what's going on with this. I just updated the game after, and it still has an issue. I don't know if maybe like something's going on with my PC. I got to restart it or something. But I've never experienced like this kind of particular thing. I did notice it a couple of times during loading screens, and then it would fix itself. But yeah, I don't know what happened with the game here. It's just like completely cooked itself. So the performance issues obviously are a big hindrance, at least on PC. I can't attest to how the game is performing on Xbox, but I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more stable over on the console. So if you're on PC, you might experience some issues like me, unless you have a really, really strong PC. But this is one of those games that I don't think requires that much out of your PC. You're not going to need like a 5090 or anything like that to get it to run. But it's one of those things where it's like, because it uses Unreal 5, Unreal 5 can be really janky and like bloating and taxing on a lot of PCs, even if you have a pretty solid rig. So unfortunately, that is one of the biggest hindrances, I will say here. Number 2, I will say some of the gameplay is a little bit boring in sections. I think which if I just go to show you the chapter select, if you look at Act 1 here, I know I'm kind of covering it, I'll move myself over, but you see there's the 4 acts. As you see, the most interesting acts are probably the last 2 there, and there's only 4 chapters in each of them. So when you really look at that, that big section where you play as the main lighthouse image, or sorry, the lighthouse character or form, is probably the most slow paced. And obviously it starts off slower and it does pick up a little bit as you're going through the game. Naturally, that makes sense. But it is a bit of a grind, to say the least. As you're going through this massive first part, things start to pick up once you get, like, I didn't really like these levels, if I'm honest. They looked good, but they weren't that exciting to get through. And then once you became a boat, the boat was more interesting, but it droned on a little bit, things like that. But like I said, once you became the wheel, that was fun as hell. These levels were really, these are my favorite. I guess the 3 acts here, or sorry, the Act 3 where you play as the fireball, whatever. That was probably the most interesting part, but unfortunately it came in at the end. So it's very slow paced and it does take a while to get going. And like I said, it does get more enjoyable as you get towards the end of the game, but it is kind of, like I said, a bit slow paced, and it's definitely a game that not everyone is going to be able to get into. So just keep that in mind. Now, one thing I want to check before I go on to my next point here, because I've received a copy from Microsoft, I do want to see, or Xbox I should say specifically, I want to see how much it actually costs. This game is getting some pretty good reviews from what I've see so far. GameSpot gave it a 9, Eurogamer gave it a 5 out of 5, which is kind of wild to me. But I'm not getting a price. I think, I want to say it's like, maybe like 50 bucks. Oh, $30. It's $30 US. Okay, there you go. That's all I needed. So it's 30 US. It's probably about 40 Canadian, which makes sense. So for the price point, this is where I want to get into things. So it took me about 4.5 hours. I paused for lunch and I went and did a couple of things here and there. Got stuck a couple of times, that sort of thing. So it will take you probably under 5 hours guaranteed. I don't think it's possible to do it unless you're sniffing every corner. And even if you are sniffing every corner, I really don't think you're going to spend too much time on it. So for 30 bucks, the replay value isn't really there. It's one of those games you're one and doneing it unless you want to go back and get the remaining achievements. From what I look at though, those achievements, if you use a guide, or even if you don't, like look at me, I got just about all the achievements and all the hidden areas in one run just by like stumbling into areas. And I only missed, I think, what did I say, 4? I think there was only 4 of the like hidden areas that I didn't pick up, which the upside, again, this is a plus, is they gave you a chapter select to go back into those specific zones that they might be hidden, and you can go ahead and just replay it without having to replay the game. That always gets a plus from me, is when games do that, because I always hate it when they make you redo a whole game just to like go through a couple of collectibles. So chapter select is appreciated, but you'd be surprised how many games that are like this, that are shorter in nature, that just make you replay the whole game to do it again. So that's a prop for that. But again, we're talking about what I didn't like about the game at the moment. So yeah, so there's a couple things there, a little bit slow paced, like I said, and obviously the replay value for the price, I think it's a bit up there. Again, most games that are of this size are going to be around the $30 US range anyway. I just wish there was just a bit more replay value out of the game. Like I said, you can get all the achievements. If you're an achievement hunter, you can get them all in one run if you really know where to go, or if you properly just search everywhere. Some of them are hidden, but again, if you go back into chapter select, look how small the chapters are. I didn't think there was going to be this many chapters. I assumed each chapter was like where the loading screens were, but it's basically showing you on every location. So each one is its own thing. So whether that be a chapter or not, I mean, that remains to be seen. But so really what I'm saying is, even if you do miss the collectibles and you just want to get the achievements, you can easily reload a chapter and finish that within maybe an hour or something at best, you know, or as soon as you get it, you get the achievement, you bail, you go to the next one. So it really wouldn't take you that long when you think about it. So the value for money, I think, is just not really there. And again, this is one of those ones you're probably not going to touch again. But you know, that's just the way it is. It's you know, value for money. It's a bit quirky, and it's definitely not going to be for anyone, or for everyone, excuse me. You definitely have to be a type of, I guess, certain type of person to play this. I'd say a lot of people are probably going to skip this game, which is a shame, because I think it's kind of interesting. I think if you have Game Pass, give it a run through. I think that's just something you should do. just because it's like so unique. You know, you're not going to play a game like this, and that's something that it's going to be memorable just for that reason. Even though it's pretty short and there's not a whole lot of extra content here, it's very different, and it's going to be memorable. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that game when I played as a lighthouse, and I eventually turned into a boat and then a horse or whatever. It's going to be memorable in that regard. So anyway, let's summarize about the game. So visually and auditorily, it is a fantastic experience. Like I said, great soundtrack. Just the visual and audio experience of the game is truly special. It really does encapsulate you, and I'd say that's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, elements of the game. It's got these great things going for it. One of the most creative and unique games I've played in a while, which is always really interesting. Like I said, you're not going to really see a game that is like this anytime soon, if ever again. It requires a certain type of person to come up with something as unique as this. So I got to give massive props for that. However, the game doesn't have a whole lot of replay value. It's a bit slower paced in certain areas, and it does get a bit repetitive and tedious in certain areas of the game. And unfortunately, it doesn't pick up really until towards the really far end of the game, when the most fun part is there's only a few more chapters left. So I think if they spent more time doing that, while it is really, really cool that they have all these different changes and you're not just the lighthouse and you change forms throughout the game and you realize this guy is its own, it's not just a lighthouse, it's this beacon entity thing, you know, and you have this like bird with you who's your friend. You got these puzzles and things that you're going through. There are these cool elements, but again, it's a bit slow paced and they're not as satisfying as I would have hoped they would be. So with that in mind, comparing all those things, the price point, the good, the bad, I think I want to give this game, I'm actually kind of struggling where I want to land on it because I don't want to drop it too low, but I do have to really say it's special, but it's not, it doesn't redeem itself enough to really give it a massive score. But I also don't want to give it like a terrible score. I'm caught, okay? I'm caught between 6.5 and a 7. I'm kind of in that region for what I want to give it. I feel like 6.5 seems too low, but I feel like 7's too high, and I don't like going in between the two, so I got to really think about this. Is the creativity of this game enough to really give it a proper, like, 7? You know what I mean? Versus, you know, not. And I just don't see the value there, so you know what? I think I'm going to give it a 6.5. I think it does. It's kissing that 7 mark. If it was a bit longer of a game, if there was a bit more, you know, replay value to it, I think it would easily make the 7, maybe 7.5. I don't really agree with the fact that these guys are saying it's like a 9 or a 10. I think that's way too generous. But based on where the price point is, the amount of time you're going to spend on, and the amount of content you're getting, despite it being a visual experience that's, you know, visual and the soundtracks, despite that being good, sorry, I'm tripping over my lips here, despite that being really, really good, I just don't think the gameplay and the other things that make up a game are strong enough to give it a higher score than that. But it's still, I consider a 5 to be an average run-of-the-mill game, just to keep that in mind. Everyone thinks that a bad game is a 7, which I don't get. But I think if it's an average game, it has just as many things good as it does bad. That's a 5. So the fact that it's a 6.5, I'd say it's in the good territory, not in like, or the decent territory, or above average territory, maybe even pushing decent or good, or whatever you want to say. And then we get up to great and excellent and so on. So I think it's in the good area, above average, good, kind of in that area. So like I said, if you're looking to buy it and you don't have Game Pass, I would probably wait till it drops a bit on price, maybe by $10 or so. I'll wait till there's a sale, then I'd say pick it up, you know, if you're into this sort of game. Otherwise, just play it on Game Pass. That's the best way I can consider it. It's one of those things, like, if you got Game Pass, play it. Please, if you do have Game Pass, play it. Support stuff like this, because things like, if these things do well, the next game is going to be even better. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's always good to do that. So that's my thought on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you leave a like, comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new. Turn on those post notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss anything I put out here on the channel. Be sure to like and follow my socials: Facebook, X, Instagram, Snapchat, Discord. Those are linked in the description. If you want to get yourself a shirt or hoodie of mine, there's a link in the description for that. Also, an embedded feature right below the stream/video. Scroll down, you'll see some items I have there, but ultimately just go to the website for the full range of products and customization options. Big shout out to the sponsors, of course: DX Racer, Bones Coffee, Ridge Wallet, Mad Rabbit Tattoo. I use their products daily. Check them out for yourselves with the links in the description. Be sure to use my promo code DanQ8000 to save a checkout with them. If you guys want to get yourself Sorry, if you want to send something, my bad, I already said all that stuff. If you want to send something to my P.O. box, there's an address for it listed in the description. Check it out if you want to send something my way. Anything sent to that P.O. box will be open in a social post, or it will be done on a live stream, whatever makes more sense for whatever's sent at the time. Finally, be sure to check out and sign up for the Team 8000 membership program if you haven't done so yet. It supports the page immensely. There's 4 tiers, 4 price points. The entry level is 99 cents, so it's a cheap and easy way to get into the program. But like I said, there's a bunch of perks. For signing up, you get things like custom badges by your name, custom emojis used in chat, exclusive video and stream access, priority in open lobbies, giveaways, discounts, and plenty more. We have got a decent amount from today. We are almost kissing 550 members, which is awesome. The most I've ever had is 663, so I'd love to hit that if you got and go beyond that. If you guys want to help us get there, support the channel, get some cool perks, you can join that with the link in the description. There's a join button below the stream, also a section on my main channel page as well. If you guys want to gift members or send super chats, you can do both of those with the $sign icon that's next to chat. Give it a click, you'll get a drop down. If you are gifting members, just remember you can do 1 to 50 in a single transaction. Ultimately, gift as many as you want through multiple transactions, okay? Thank you guys so much again. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we catch you in the next one very soon. We'll see you then. Take care. Peace.
Who's the man with the plan? If you feel trouble wild and wild, on these violent and hit you 8,000. Wait a minute, hold that style, it's dialed in. Goddamn Billy Jack, we still riding, tires flat. I hear them sirens, see shots flying, so we driving, fire back if they ain't vibing. Lie with that, got me dressed up in all black. What up? Hood up, and I see them haters try to run with us, they gon' need inhalers. Gotta breathe them hard just like Darth Vader. Players, grab your respirators, night invaders get lightsabered. Mask on for the shooters, move like trash to bed intruder. Got that Glock and got them woofers, just press play, I'll keep it moving. Who is not still, you damn fools? Keep it fresh like canned food. There ain't nothing we can't do, so tune into that damn Q. Yeah. It was never, ever a game.